Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from here in the UK. And we've got colleagues joining from over in the US as well today. Welcome to another Evernym webinar. You've attended some of these before, and I can see some familiar names, so thanks for coming back. These webinars are focused on self-sovereign identity and digital credentials, and we run them regularly to help you learn about this rapidly evolving and growing world of SSI and enable you to build your own solutions quickly and efficiently. You can find recordings of all our previous webinars at evernym.com/webinars. And on the last one we did, it was a really good in-depth analysis of the future of SSI with Alex Prukshat and our own Drummond Reed, who happen to be the co-authors of a new book on self-sovereign identity, which is available, I'm told, at all good bookshops and at Amazon. As you've probably seen in the press, digital credentials are now definitely a thing, and as IATA rolls out their Travel Pass program globally, it's just expanding rapidly, and the interest in digital credentials and SSI is going through the roof now. So today we're going to give you an update on a new product, and it's a key product because it's what IATA and hundreds of COVID test labs and airlines around the world are using, and it's called Verity Flow. So next slide, please, Alex. So I'm joined today by a star team here from our product group here in Evernym. So just do some quick introductions. James, do a quick intro, please.
Thanks very much, Andy. Hi, everybody. I'm James Monaghan, and I'm the VP of Products here at Evernym, based in London, England.
Thanks, James. And Richard?
I'm Richard Eswin, Director of Product. I'm based in the Western US, and I have a lot of fun working across our various teams.
Thanks, Richard. And finally, Candice.
Hi, I'm Candice Ward. I'm on the product team at Evernym, and I'm based in the Salt Lake area.
Perfect. Thanks very much. So on to the main event. What we're going to be doing today is giving you an overview of our new product Verity Flow and how it's used in the IATA Travel Pass program, and also doing some demos for you as well. We've also got another of our regular roadmap updates. Things are moving really fast in the SSI world at the moment, and our roadmap gets very hot as we move things around and add new features and things in response to our customers finding new things to do with SSI, and we're constantly astounded by the new ideas that just come out from conversations we have and experiences people are having using our products and others in the SSI world. So we've got a roadmap update coming for you as well. And after that, we'll have one of our usual Q&A sessions. And if you've been on one of these before, you'll know they run long. So if you want to hang on for those, that's great. We always get a lot of excellent questions. Before we go on any further, also note, as usual, this webinar has been recorded. The recording gets posted up on evernym.com/webinars afterwards. Alex does his mastery with it and then encodes the video and pops it up. And it will be available on our evernym.com/webinar webpage. Any questions you've got as we go through, and I see the attendee numbers are going up, which is great. If you get any questions as we go through, use the Zoom Q&A feature, because we can use that and grab the questions, and we put them in a sort of rough order and tackle them at the end of the formal bit of the presentation. So don't use the chat, because that just gets lost really easily, but the Q&A is really good. So drop your questions in the Q&A, and there's no such thing as a bad question either, so just ask anything you like. So we'll cover as many of those at the end of the formal bit of the presentation. And as I say, often it goes long, so we're always delighted that people are so interested they're willing to hang on after the formal piece. So that's the intro done. I think without further ado, James, let me hand it straight over to you.
Okay, well, let's dive in. We've got a lot to cover today, and we're really excited to share with you. But before we get into the specifics of the new product and why you should care, we're going to start with just a very quick refresher on what all this verifiable credentials business is all about. At the end of the day, identity transactions today in the real world are mediated all the time by verifiable credentials. They just look like driver's licenses, business cards, pieces of plastic that we use in every facet of our lives. And they've got some really useful properties. They contain human and machine readable attributes. They live with me under my control, and so I can use them in a number of different scenarios in my life. And typically they've got some tamper evidence and things like that, so the relying party can have a peek at it and make a trust decision based on how authentic it looks. But as we all know, the digital world does not work like that. Most digital interactions these days are mediated by so-called identity providers that sit in the middle of our interactions and vouch for us on our behalf, which is certainly convenient, but is quite harmful from a privacy perspective, and actually limits adoption because there's a number of use cases for which they're just not suitable. Enter decentralized identity and verifiable credentials. What we've been working on at Evernym and with the wider community is this technology which allows you to take all the best things of a physical verifiable credential and digitize them. So there are three key stakeholders in any verifiable credentials transaction. There's the issuer. So in this example we've got on the screen, the issuer might be a university. And there's the holder, that's the identity owner themselves, so a graduate in this case. And the issuer may choose to issue a digital diploma or any other credential they like to the holder. And in doing so, they're transferring this digital asset, which contains an electronic signature on it, directly to the holder. That's not living in some database somewhere. It's not going on any public blockchain. That's going on that individual's mobile device, which they can then turn around and use with any relying party or any verifier that they choose to interact with. They could be opening a bank account. They could be applying for a job. They could be applying for a mortgage, any scenario where they need to prove something that comes from that digital diploma. And the beauty of verifiable credentials is that they're able to do that instantly and without that relying party having to contact the issuer to check if any of that information is valid or not. And as you see from the next slide, as well as the underlying technology for that, Evernym has been leading the market with its end-to-end product suite that actually powers every step of that journey. And so for issuers of credentials, our Verity product offers both a REST API and software development kit that make it very straightforward to bake in the ability to automatically issue verifiable credentials to any business application that you may have. For individual identity owners, we offer both the Connect.me mobile app. It is a free identity wallet available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. But also we offer a mobile SDK, which a number of our customers, including IATA, as Andy mentioned earlier, have used to embed those same capabilities in mobile apps of their own. And finally, for verifiers or relying parties, they can also use the Verity platform to receive and instantly verify those digital credentials using, again, either a REST API or SDK. And so these products are aiming to be the most reliable and the most powerful in the market for developers who want to create their own solutions that use verifiable credentials. And on the next slide, we've got just a handful of the examples. We're incredibly privileged. We've got over 1,000 teams now that are hands-on actually building on these products. And of course, that's been fantastic in terms of getting a lot of market insights about the problems they're solving and the needs they have for verifiable credentials in their own businesses. And there are brands, large and small, who have been building really exciting things on this technology. In fact, we're pleased that not just the IATA use case and the National Health Service use case, but across sectors, including finance, travel, healthcare, and staffing, Evernym powers some of the largest and most high-profile deployments of verifiable credentials anywhere in the world. If you go to the next slide, thank you, Alex. So something that we've learned in working with these customers is a lot about what their needs look like. And there are sort of two key insights that drove the creation of Verity Flow. One is that not every customer is actually that interested in having a developer API or an SDK with which to go and build a verifiable credentials application. Not every customer has a development team available. And those that do, I think, like most businesses, are often very committed in terms of what those resources are allocated to. So it can be quite difficult to get those first couple of use cases up and running because it requires a meaningful commitment of resources, no matter how easy to use we make the API. The second insight is that actually a lot of our customers, one of the first things they would build is a simple in-person use case, either for issuing credentials or for verifying them. And so we looked at that and we watched our customers solving the same family of problems again and again and again. And we thought this is a fantastic opportunity for us to give our customers a head start. Basically, we can solve that problem essentially once and for all, and let our customers get to market much quicker with a simple solution that takes care of the majority of those needs. And so that is what Verity Flow has been created to do.
So as James described, Verity Flow is a web application. It's our solution to this market where people want to be able to do in-person verification, and they want to be able to do verification without a complex integration. So next slide. It's our no-code solution for issuing and verifying credentials. It's a graphical user interface that doesn't require any backend integration. You can brand it to look like your corporate website or your team website, and you can customize the credential format that's being used, as well as the verification proof request, the verification template that's being used, so that it meets your use case. On the issuer side, it makes it really straightforward to define. You give a login to the members of your team, your staff, who are trained on how issuance needs to happen. They log in. There's multi-factor authentication to make sure it's secure, and then they can fill out the credential as they complete a lab test in this screenshot, or as they physically review the documents of the person across the desk from them, and they can issue that credential right there in the GUI, or they can upload a spreadsheet that has multiple credentials, and that can be done asynchronously offline or after the person's left their desk, and it can be done in bulk. On the verification side, it's equally straightforward to have a member of this team, somebody who's trained in doing the verification. They log in, they say, this is the verification template I want to use. And then that displays a QR code. And when somebody comes up to verify, they take a picture of the QR code on their mobile wallet. And then the person looks for that big green check mark. Yes, this person's ready to move. They can they can enter the restaurant, they can enter the movie theater, whatever the policy is for that scenario. And of course, the proof request template, the specific attributes that you want to verify and the rules you want to use around verification, that's also configurable in the user interface in the administration side. And once that verification is done, you can then discard that data, so you don't have any liability around it. You can always request it again, or you can store that data and export it as a spreadsheet to be able to put into another business process without an API integration, just processing the spreadsheet. Now, Verity Flow at this point is mostly used in the IATA Travel Pass use case, as we mentioned, to assist people as they're moving through airports. And if you're interested in that use case, if you're a lab or an airline, you can go to evernym.com/labs and learn more about it. Now, our goal over the next few months is to generalize Verity Flow, to create the administration screens that allow you to configure the templates for credential issuing and for proof requests, and make it more customizable in that user interface, really easy to adapt to your scenario. If you're interested and Verity Flow sounds like it will help you with your business, you can go to evernym.com/verity-flow. You can sign up for the early access program, and we'll get to know you, learn more about your use case. And then as those features are ready for your feedback, we'll be able to reach out to you and invite you to the early access program. During the early access period, Verity Flow will be provided to customers at no additional cost, and customers of our paid plans at no additional cost. So make it really easy for you to play with it, see how it fits in your use case, and then give us feedback. Now, the best way to learn to get a sense of exactly what Verity Flow does is to look at it in a real world use case. So let's talk a bit more about the IATA case study. In the IATA case, we recognize, pandemics are disruptive, global pandemics. Global travel is a small fraction of what it normally is, and that makes it very difficult to do business. It makes it, we miss our fun vacations, getting on planes, going places, and we need to reopen global travel. So we partnered with the International Airline and Transport Association, with IATA, to be able to provide a solution that reopens global travel, keeps it secure and efficient and safe, that people can show what their COVID test status is and be able to meet the requirements of their destination. So this is privacy preserving, it's contactless, and it's verifiable and scalable. It doesn't have to slow down lines. People can move through. People speed up quite a bit over exchanging paper documents. So Evernym's platform provides this solution to airlines, labs around the world, and makes it so that the labs specifically were very concerned. We don't want to hire a development team to use this. And so we provide a solution that allows that integration without an engineering team. In the IATA use case, there's two key verifiers, and I like how this shows how Evernym's various products work together. The IATA has embedded in the Travel Pass app an ability to where the traveler can take a picture of the passport and take a selfie, and then that goes to IATA's backend, and they validate that this is a real document. It's a current document, and then they use the Verity API to issue a credential to the traveler's mobile device that says, yes, this is the passport, and that can then be used throughout the journey. The labs didn't want to work with the Verity API. They want a GUI. They're processing the test, and then they're typing the results, or they're exporting from the test system a spreadsheet of values, and they're entering that in. And then Verity Flow works with Verity on the back end and sends those credentials to the mobile device. The traveler uses Travel Pass, which is the IATA mobile app that's built on the mobile SDK, or they could use other mobile apps built on the Evernym mobile SDK. And in this case, she would go to the airport during the boarding process. She's using the airline website and shows that she's got her passport, it's valid, shows that she's got her COVID test, it's valid. And that can work with the Verity API to complete the boarding process on the back end, go through that workflow. When she arrives at the airport, she needs to show this information again to the gate agent. And that person standing in front of her looks for the green check mark, all in the GUI, doesn't have to worry about any integration, can change how that's happening on the fly in the admin interface. And she proceeds through the border authority, the same checks can occur, and the border agent can know, yes, the passport's valid, she's got the okay to travel certificate that says that she's met all the requirements for her destination, and she can proceed. All this is done contactless. All this is done in a very flexible way that can change as the requirements change on a per location basis. Now, for Verity Flow to succeed at this, we have to have different interfaces for both sides of this of the interaction. The labs, the issuer sees this interface on the left, the orange interface, where they can enter the test ID, and that's tied to the connection to the enrolled traveler's mobile device. And then they can enter in those details, or they can upload that CSV file, that spreadsheet, in order to do a bulk issuance. And then the experience on the verifier side is completely different. It comes in, you say, I'm the gate agent, and it just shows the QR code. When you take the picture, it shows the big check mark and a little bit of the data, so you can make sure you're looking at the right person. And then they move through, and you can export that data or delete that data per your policies. We're really excited. It's the adoption this has received. It's been a lot of fun to work with a broad ecosystem of partners, both on the labs and the airlines, 50 plus airlines or 1,500 lab accounts. And people are flying with this, using this technology to fly today. And it's being rolled out more broadly across these airlines over the next few weeks. So we're very excited about that. I really like this quote from Alan Murray Hayden from IATA. The benefits of having electronic versions of passports are just incredible. They provide the ability to walk through airports and ensure that your identity is never stolen and that you're safely being processed. The opportunities are absolutely huge. What I love about that quote is this goes far beyond COVID test credentials. True, the pandemic makes this extremely timely, but making our travel experience contactless, more efficient, and digital will make our lives easier, less hassle when we travel for decades to come. And it's a lot of fun to work on a technology that gets such broad usage. Now, my colleague Candace is going to show you how Verity Flow works, the way the product's built in a demo.
Cool, thanks, Richard. All right, before we start this demo, I just wanted to show you a little bit what I'm going to tell you about. So first, I'm going to show you our in-production use case where IATA is using Travel Pass to both issue and verify passport data and COVID-19 test results. In this demo, I'm not going to show you the issuance. We showed that in a previous webinar, so you're welcome to go check that out if you want. But in this case, I'm going to show you the verification piece. And then the second demo I will show you is an in-progress administrative feature that is going to allow you to create custom flows for your own specific use case. Just to set you up for this video, on the left-hand side, we're going to see the gate agent logging in. They will present the QR code to a traveler who, on the right-hand side, you will see them pull up their mobile wallet, which they use to scan the QR code and give permission to share their credentials with the gate agent. All right, so on the left here, you see the gate agent logging in. And meanwhile, the traveler will open their mobile wallet, which they'll be using to scan the QR code. They enter their passcode, it's completely secure. And on the other side, you see we have multi-factor authentication set up, but we're going to skip over that right now and go straight to the process. So the gate agent is going to present the QR code. If you look here in the mobile wallet, you can see the results of the COVID-19 tests that have been issued previously. And also in this mobile wallet is this traveler's passport credentials. Okay, so they're scanning the QR code. This number here represents their passport number, and they're going to give permission now to share those attributes with the agent at the gate. Again, they enter their passcode, so it's completely secure. Nothing is shared or added to the mobile wallet without their direct permission. And the gate agent sees their passport information show up with a negative COVID-19 test. You see a very simple green check, which shows that this person is okay to board. And they can go on to scan the next passenger. Okay, so here you can see the administrative side of Verity Flow. And along this sort of left-hand column, the home button leads to where we just did the verification process. That also leads to issuance if you log in as a lab. Down here, you can see there's a place to organize your users. And then the reports side gives you the option to download a CSV file that has information about your users and how many issuances they've performed. We're going to skip those for now, but go to this next piece that's currently in development, which is the customizable flows. So when I go up here to create a new flow, I'm going to be using an example from one of our partners who gave us permission to show their use case. So this is for a credit union. So in this case, the credit union is signing up their members and having them show their credentials when they enter the credit union itself. Here you can see where we're entering what text the user is going to see. On the right-hand side, you can view exactly how that will be presented to your customer. You can see that we can change the text really simply. So when the credit union member scans this QR code, they need to be presented with a success message, just like the green check mark with the traveler, saying that, yes, you have those credentials. Thank you so much. We'll be with you in a moment. And you can easily click over here and see exactly how that's going to be presented. But also, if they don't have the right credentials issued yet, we need to give them a failure message, saying something like, oops, we didn't detect those credentials in your wallet. Please see a representative to have those issued. And you can see a big bold X is presented, so it's just very clear that they need to take further action in that case. So down here, the second piece is going to be the branding. And you can see there's a place to enter your company name. In this case, again, this is one of our partners that allowed us to use this use case. So this is their member pass. They're going to upload their company logo. And that will show up also just down there in the left-hand corner. And then you can pick a brand color here, which will just do a simple overlay. And you'll see it shows on all three different views. So that piece is fully customizable. And then in this case, with the credit union, they're not going to be looking for passport credentials or COVID-19 test results. They're looking for, maybe the credential ID, the person's name, how long have they been a member, this type of information. So we're making this also so that you can just choose exactly what you're requesting from your customer's mobile wallet. Just these credentials would have had to be issued beforehand so that when it goes to search the mobile wallet, it finds these attributes, and then the customer can choose to share those with you. Okay, so in summary, that's the two different use cases, the IATA Travel Pass, where there's a traveler coming in, they're wanting to share their credentials with the gate agent in order to board the plane. And then this administrative piece, which will allow you to create completely customizable flows for your specific use case. So you can see this is our no-code solution. It's meant to be handed off to a non-technical team, super easy to use for in-person verification, and soon to be fully customizable.
Cool, thanks a lot. So that's excellent, Candice, nicely done. So let's just, well, on this slide, obviously, we've got a wait list running for folks who want to get early access to Verity Flow. So jump in, sign up at evernym.com/verityflow, and as soon as we can, we'll get you access to it. And in fact, James probably just cover when that's going to be, and a bit more on the product roadmap coming up. So back over to you, James.
Yeah, definitely. Candice, thank you so much for running through that. It's so exciting to be able to finally show people just a little preview of what's going to be available for them. And we frankly can't wait to see what folks do with it. It's always the most exciting part about releasing a new product like this is, you know, we do our research, we have a pretty good idea of what folks will use it for. But then when people actually get hold of it and deploy it in new and exciting ways, that's the most gratifying thing. So we're really eager to hear about your use cases. We love to hear what you think we got right, what's useful about this product, what are we missing, what do we need to add to make it useful for you, all that good stuff. So when you join that waitlist, someone's gonna reach out to you, you'll have a conversation with one of us, we'll actually get to really dig into your use case, which is super cool. And then yes, as Andy pointed out on the timing front, so we do have the first customers in that early access program today. So you know, IATA's live in production, as we mentioned, and we have a couple of folks who are already getting up to speed with it, and we'll be gradually adding customers in over the coming weeks as we get more and more confident that we're able to meet their needs. And the goal is to be fully generally available in the fourth quarter of this year. So as if that wasn't exciting enough, I've been given permission to share with you two other things that are coming up on the product roadmap. And so if you can possibly contain your excitement, here we go. The first is that, as many of you may know, Evernym was involved in the very founding, the very early days of the first global public utility for self-sovereign identity, which was the Sovereign Network. And the Hyperledger Indy code base that was the basis for that has now been picked up and used by many other players in the market. And there are lots now of Indy networks, both public and private, that are being used for various different proof of concept and things like that. And we mentioned in our previous product roadmap about our commitment to make it so that our products would work with any and all of those that our customers found relevant. And so we're pleased to announce that not only have we completed that technical change that makes it possible for our products to work with multiple Indy networks concurrently, but we're also announcing support for the cheqd network, which is a brand new network that is Indy compatible, but not actually based on the Indy code base. It's a brand new code base that is based on the Cosmos ecosystem. And what makes cheqd really exciting, and the reason that Evernym is very strongly aligned with this particular network, is that they have taken on one of the other critical needs that exist in the industry, which is to allow for the exchange of value as well as the exchange of data. And so the cheqd network is an incentivized, permissionless network that includes a proof of stake token that can be used for various economic exchanges that accompany or augment the exchange of verifiable credentials and proofs. So we think that is going to be a huge catalyst for helping people to bring their existing business models into the exciting new world of decentralized identity. And we're really, really proud to be involved in the genesis of the cheqd network, in addition to the Sovereign Network that we founded all those years ago. As a side note, cheqd announced, I think just today, that their code has gone open source and that their testnet is available for folks to play with. But they're also recruiting for people who want to operate nodes on that network. And so if you have a look at their website, they've got some details there on how to get in touch and what the criteria are and so forth. But that's something that we think will be really, really impactful, and we can't wait until that's integrated in the products and everyone's able to take advantage of it. The next thing, which is also one of the most common requests from our customers, is well, how do I get the identity of a user? And what they typically mean by that is, I want some government issued attributes about someone. Like, I don't want to have to go find my own issuer to partner with to do this. I want first name, last name, date of birth, things like that, right? The common attributes. And we've seen enough demand with that we decided to form a strategic partnership with MasterCard, who have an industry-leading document verification and biometric likeness and liveness capability that is now going to be embedded in Evernym's product suite. And so if customers want to, they can take advantage of the ability to allow their users to take a picture of their government-issued ID, go through a liveness check using the camera on their device, and receive a verifiable credential that contains the key attributes from that government-issued ID, which can then be used in that customer's ecosystem. So you can imagine a scenario where a financial institution or an employer wants to onboard someone with some basic biographical details that they can then use to go reference that customer in a database of their own. Rather than having the customer self-attest all that information, you've now got a way built into the infrastructure itself to go and get those critical attributes and jump ahead with your use case. So this is going to be available in the Connect.me app. So anyone who is using that app in a use case will be able to see what this experience is like. And partners of ours who are integrating the mobile SDK will have the option to also add this document verification and biometric liveness and likeness detection into their solution as well. So we think this is going to be a massive enabler for folks who want to deliver these really common set of use cases around basic biographical data based on government issued ID. For the longest time, we held firm to the position that actually identity means different things in different contexts, and so we didn't start Connect.me with a default set of credentials in the wallet. But this is the beauty of being in product. You put things out in the market and you learn based on feedback. And feedback has been resoundingly clear. The majority of our customers would really like to see this capability. And so we are delighted that MasterCard chose to partner with us, and we're really, really excited to make this available to all of you.
James, on that exciting announcement, which I think you're underplaying a bit because it is quite epic. We've actually had a question coming straight in from Cordell saying, ETA on the MasterCard integration.
ETA, that's a great question. So so that is going to be available in the very next release of Connect.me. So the September release, you're going to be able to play around with that. Like most of our customers use Connect.me just for demos and things like that. So you'll be able to use that to get your hands dirty with it. And in terms of the bundling with mobile SDK and setting up commercial opportunities, we're already in discussions with customers about that. So if you have a use case that calls for identity verification and you would like to get that as part of your Evernym relationship rather than finding a vendor of your own, then now is the time to talk to someone on our business development team, because we are actively working on that right now.
Excellent. Actually, the questions coming in thick and fast. I can't grab them quickly enough here. But just while we're on the topic of cheqd, which you talked about earlier on, and in fact, Alex, could you just drop back to that cheqd slide? Sorry, you just unshared the screen. But so Joe Rosato said, cheqd network and in quotes other indie ledgers. Can the Connect.me app connect to say 30 different such networks, making the assumption that maybe a singular network is not possible to coordinate?
Yes. So, well, candidly, we haven't tested it at 30, but the change we've made to the architecture is to allow it to work with an arbitrary number of indie networks. Yeah. So, because of the way the indie networks work, where you have to have a Genesis file to know which network you're talking to. At the moment, we curate a list of who those networks are, and we're very happy to take requests from our customers for networks that are important to them that they'd like added to that list that will work out of the box.
Cool, thank you. More questions flooding in. I've also got a list of questions I grabbed from earlier as they've been coming in as well. But just while we're on the topic here, and maybe Richard, we can chuck this one to you if you and Candice want to just come onto the video thing. So Richard, if you this is from anonymous attendee. So hi, Mr. Mrs. Attendee. In integrated identity verification, what ensures the authenticity of the verifiable credentials issued, since it is issued by Evernym, not by the actual issuer of that credential? For example, a passport authority in the case of a passport credential. So this is about the kind of proxying of the issuer, right?
Yeah, and that chain of that, we used to call them trust registries, that governance, you need to decide based on the issuer how much you trust the credential and what you plan to do with it. When IATA gives you a passport credential stating they verify the passport document, the border authorities have a relationship with IATA. They're willing to accept that. And IATA's trusted has proven their technology is sufficient to do that. What we're doing with MasterCard, one of the big benefits to working with a team like MasterCard is that they have a network of people who already have that trust in them and who would be willing to accept that you call it intermediate credential, so they can move forward and say, we believe that this is a valid driver's license because MasterCard said it's a valid driver's license.
Yeah. Actually, there's another good example as well with, I don't know if people know this yet, but IATA are also able to ingest vaccine certificates from like the EU Digital COVID Certificate Scheme, NHS England, Qatar, Singapore. They can ingest those. And when they do that, and they convert those, if you like, dumb credentials, the bits of paper or the QR codes, they convert them into smart verifiable credentials. And in doing that, they've got access to the public keys of the government authorities that issue those. And they're doing the verification and confirming it's verified, then issuing the credential and including that key information and the QR code so somebody else can verify it if they want to as well, which is really smart. And it just shows the flexibility of a verifiable credential based approach, that you can add other types of credentials into the same wallet without having to completely rebuild the infrastructure.
Andy, just to add to that real quick, I think it's important to acknowledge though, we do understand that not every issuer or proxy issuer will be acceptable for every use case. And so, we think that this partnership will be a fantastic step forward in giving a lot of people a broadly trusted foundation upon which they can start building these chains of trust. But there's still nothing to stop folks bringing their own issuers and their own ecosystem, in fact, and that's what a number of customers still prefer to do. So nothing about that has changed, and we're still more than happy to work with other IDV providers.
Cool, thanks, James. Yeah, I think we'll just park there. We've got so many, Richard, so we'll just crack on, okay? Just while we're on cheqd, this is a bit reverse order for the Q&A, but there's more ones coming in. So on the cheqd one, Julian Wilson, hi Julian, good to see you on. Does the cheqd network replace or complement the sovereign token, or what is the relationship between the announcements and the Verym thing as well? So I could probably cover that one off quickly. So Verym they renamed to cheqd, right? So there's an organization in Germany called Verimy, and it was a bit close. So Verym is cheqd, right? The rename is cheqd. Does it replace or complement the sovereign token? It's a different network, Julian. So it's a completely different network. It'll have its own incentive mechanism. The Sovereign Foundation have publicly stated they're not going to issue a token in the foreseeable future. So the cheqd network gives you that ability to combine an exchange of value with an exchange of credentials, which there are going to be lots of use cases for. Let's just come on to some that came in earlier. Actually, Candice, one for you. Bulk issuance, can you give us a bit more information? Back to Verity Flow here. How does bulk issuance work? How do you if you've got 1,000 creds to issue, how does that work in Verity Flow?
Sure, so it's very simple. We did see a little bit of it on one of our slides. There's just a CSV file that you upload to the system, and that can enter all of those automatically for you. There's also a template which you download so that you make sure to get all the right attributes added to that CSV file.
Okay, so pretty nice and simple then, by all accounts. Cool, thank you for that. And James, you covered the Verity Flow, or Richard covered Verity Flow cost very briefly, but I think you could probably expand on that a little bit for us.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, you're right. We said that during the early access period, anybody who's on any of our paid plans can get their hands wet with Verity Flow at no additional cost. We didn't talk about the general availability pricing, but it will follow the same model as our other commercial products, all of which we make available for an affordable monthly fee based on the number of active users, right? So that same model will be applied to Verity Flow as well. So it should allow low volume use cases to get out of the starting gate at a very manageable cost, and it should still be tenable at high volumes because the pricing tiers down with high usage.
Cool, thank you. Matthew Hailstone, hi there, Matthew, said, are the credentials in BBS Plus format? I think this is referring to Verity Flow as well. Which of you wants to take that one?
Yeah, BBS Plus credentials are on our roadmap. They're coming, but the currently Verity Flow supports the same credential formats as Verity. And when we roll out BBS Plus, we expect to roll it out across all of our products as well. It is a more general update. BBS Plus is part of the work we've been doing at the Trust Our IP called the Good Health Pass Initiative, which is a variety of standards all brought together, DIDCOM2, BBS Plus, JSON LD, and that standard is not finalized yet. There's still conversations about how to keep preserving privacy, manage link secrets, things like that. We're participating, and as it finalizes, we'll be able to implement it, but that's where we are on that process.
Yeah, cool, thank you, Richard. Back to IATA Travel Pass. Bobby Meladan, hi Bobby, says, is the photo of the traveler passed to the gate agent? James.
Oh, sorry, yes. So it absolutely could do. Any attribute that's in the credential can be included in that request template that Candice showed you building on the fly there. So yeah, if you've got an embedded image in the credential, then you can absolutely pull it into the screen that the gate agent is looking at.
Yeah, and it's important to note actually that IATA have the ability, the IATA app has the ability to NFC read the passport chip and pull all the data out, and that includes the field with the photo in as well, and all the various signatures and stuff. Cool. Thank you for that. Gregory says regarding Travel Pass, what is stored on the airport side after verification of the credential? Who am I looking at for that one? Richard, I think. Oh, Candice came off. Candice was first off mute.
Yeah, so I can answer that. So you have a choice at that point whether you want to store that data and export it in some format, or if you just want to completely delete it. So
okay,
for your use case.
And in the Verity Flow implementation we've got, I don't think they are storing, are they? They're just checking it and then it's gone, and then next passenger and so on.
Right, but we do currently have the ability to store that if you wish. So.
Got it. Cool. Thank you. And maybe whilst you're off mute there, Candice, here's another one from W. Busaid, or Busaid, or WB Busaid. I'm wondering how the enrollment of the issuer or verifier is proceeded. So how if there's all of these labs, how are they onboarded?
So that's a good question. So IATA has their list of labs that they allow to do issuance, and maybe Richard, if you want to fill in some of the gaps there. But so it's basically your choice who you want to allow to be on that list.
Yes, if you want to be an IATA Travel Pass partner lab, you need to work with IATA to join their program. Yeah.
And there was some questions earlier on, I think I got them, about how do you know that the issuer is the right issuer. So with IATA, what they do is they approve every individual lab. So a lab applies to IATA, and it may be in that country, the government has a list of regulated labs, for example, and IATA will check with that. But basically, IATA maintains a lab registry of all approved labs. And what that means in practice is when that lab is approved, they're onboarded and the lab gets a Verity tenant, and that includes a DID for that lab as well. And the lab registry includes the lab DID that's tied to the lab and other details about the lab. So when a verifier like an airport or an airline comes along and wants to check someone's credentials, they can also verify that that originally came from an IATA approved lab. And that's the kind of power of DIDs, as you can track it back to the DID of the issuer. And that actually answers Jacques' question a bit as well. Are issuers of COVID test results part of a specific trust framework? So yeah, Jacques, that is the case. This lab registry, IATA is the ecosystem convener, and they create the ecosystem and set the rules about how you get onboarded and the processes and so on. And they maintain this, you could call it a trust framework, and IATA kind of manage that, and they set the rules for what the credentials look like and how they flow around and the different processes as well. So absolutely, those labs are all the issuers, and IATA is an issuer themselves as well. And I think that answers W. Bussaid's other question, is how the enrollment of the issuers is proceeded. So 2 in 1 there. Now, oh, here's one that's quite cool. Mark Haddle says, with DID capability comes native secure messaging features. Is Verity Flow appropriate for organizations that want to lead with that, with the identity credential as a value add rather than the other way around? So that's a kind of interesting way of looking at it, James, isn't it?
Oh, I love that idea, and this is what I meant about seeing what people come up with when you give them a starting point. So absolutely. I mean, that's not something that is currently in the product, as you've seen from the demo. It's at the moment designed to just really streamline simple in-person either issuance or verification flows, but adding real-time chat or other kind of query response capabilities is squarely in line with what we intend this product to offer to our customers, which is a way to rapidly operationalize these use cases without having to write code and without having to integrate into your own system. So that's exactly the sort of thing where if you've got a credible production use case, then we'd love to talk to you about getting that on the roadmap.
Thank you, James. One for you, Candice, now. Who do I contact if I want to use your no-code tool, Verity Flow, for issuance and verification of credentials for other use cases? So you demonstrated it for travel. Can it be used for other use cases too? So Candice, how do they get in touch? I guess they're on the beta program, right? But...
So you want to send us an email to request that, and we are giving early access to some people to go ahead and test these features for us. The customization is in progress right now. We're hoping to release that soon, but you'll have to wait just a little bit to get your hands on that part.
Alex, could you just pop up that slide with the early access URL on it for people to apply to, please? Right, so let's pick another one out. Right, here we go. Richard, Daniel Richter, hi Daniel, says, how can the verifier make sure they receive credentials from trusted issuers? One could just fabricate the needed attributes oneself. So a bit on proof restrictions and things, I imagine, in that.
Yeah, that is exactly the value of that trust registry, that you say, who is the ecosystem you want to play in? What's the list of issuers? And Verity Flow, when you do your verification proof presentation, when you do your proof presentation template for verification, you define, here are the attributes I want, and here are the values I'm looking for. And one of those attributes you can request that you can pin to a value is the issuer. And it'll only give you the big check mark if that succeeds.
So yeah, we call those proof restrictions, don't we? I think there was a bit more to the question as well about, I think it goes back to the trust framework and like the lab registry for IATA or the hospital registry that the NHS are using for issuing staff credentials is, you can do two checks, can't you? Check it comes from that DID, but then you need to know that DID is part of a trusted group. So you have to have human trust as well as technical trust in there.
Yeah, that's a good way to explain it.
All right, so, oh, okay, here's a nice one. James, coming your way. How does Evernym assure that it does not store the user's passport and other PII data in its own central database? not having one of those central databases is a good start, isn't it?
Well, exactly, yeah. So we've worked really hard. Well, and I guess I should say this is difficult, and this is quite a fundamental question whenever you're using a SaaS provider. We've worked hard to make sure that we store as little as possible for as little time as possible, while still offering our customers the benefits of being able to hire us as a service provider rather than having to manage the entire infrastructure themselves. And so in that trade-off, the way that Verity handles both issuing and verifying credentials is that data related to that credential, including personal information, only reside on our systems for the lifetime of that protocol, the Aries protocol that's associated, or for a customer-specific timeout, which defaults to 72 hours in our system. So because the issuance flow for these passport credentials is built on top of Verity, because it's the industry's leading verified credentials issuing service. Why wouldn't we use that? It inherits those capabilities. And so when we verify the document in connect.me, that information goes up to Mastercard's backends. All the various authenticity checks happen, and then when the valid result is sent back to Evernym systems, it goes through Verity, and as soon as it's received on the end user's device, it's automatically expunged from our backend. And if for whatever reason that end user, turns their phone off at that moment and then leaves it in a drawer for the next couple of days, then it's automatically erased from Evernym systems. So we have no ongoing record of any of that.
And it's worth pointing out that one way we're different than most SaaS providers is the source code that's running on that backend service is at GitLab/Evernym, gitlab.com/Evernym/Verity. And you can go check. That's exactly what we're doing.
And actually, this comes up quite a lot when you're talking to chief information security officer type people as well. And for IATA, obviously IATA and the airlines and the labs are all interested in this as well. So in that use case, IATA produced a data privacy policy that describes all of this. And actually, it's in the FAQs on their website as well. And other customers of ours have done the same thing. Just back to the signing up for Verity Flow, Alex put it in the chat. So if you missed it, have a look in the chat. You'll see the link Alex put in there, evernym.com/verityflow for the early sign up, or email at info@evernym.com. Okay, more stuff coming in. Oh, crikey. Let's go back to some of the people who asked questions earlier on rather than doing the latest ones first. Okay, Francis Gresham, hi Francis, says, you mentioned Verity Flow was no code and no need for APIs. Can it produce output after the verification of a credential that will trigger a follow-on business process? Candice, for you on that one.
So currently we don't have it so that you can integrate that with your own systems, but you can use the information that you request from the mobile wallet to kick off your next process. So in the case of the credit union, if they're getting the member ID, then that goes to the bank teller and they can use that to log into their online system.
So Verity Flow gives you the spreadsheet to download. If you want an API experience, that's Verity. And as we showed in the IATA experience, the two can be used side by side so you can achieve very complicated business flows. The real question is your user the in-person verification, straightforward verification, spreadsheet style integration, or is it API style, or both? And that'll point you to the right mix of products.
Perfect. Thanks for helping on that as well, guys. All right, so let's look at Joe Rosato. Interesting one. Hi, Joe. Says, how do you switch between different networks or ledgers? Is there something in the DID to take care of that? Or will the person with Connect Me app need to manually switch between networks? Who wants that one? Richard, you're nodding. It's all yours.
I'll pick on me. A DID, a fully qualified DID, has a very specific format: DID : network : and then additional information. And so the issuer needs to select the network that issuer is going to use. The verifier needs to know which DIDs and which networks they live on that they're going to trust. But the mobile app in the middle, they just follow the instructions. As long as it's one of the networks they know about, then they can go follow that through without any user intervention.
Perfect, thank you. I noticed, by the way, we're just at the top of the hour, and as unsurprisingly, we've got a load more questions than we can answer. Some of you will be a bit disappointed, but let's go another 10 minutes. So please stay on if you're able to do that, and hopefully my team will be able to stay on as well. We'll just go a little bit longer because Bill Wendell asked this one both in chat and in the Q&A, so he really wants an answer, Bill. How does one find out more about mortgage use cases so we're not all reinventing the same process? So mortgage use cases, James, you're VP of product, you'll know all about mortgage use cases.
Well, I do, but I think the question was, how do we find other people who are working on the same use case as me? I think
that's what's underlying it, yeah. But I think Bill's interested in mortgages particularly in this case. So
right, okay. Well, so I guess I'll answer it. I guess I'll answer it in two ways. So for mortgage use cases, I mean, it's it's the sort of use case we often give as kind of a pathological case for the old way of doing things, because anyone who's applied for a mortgage knows how painful that is and all the reams of paper that you need. So we often invoke that as the example of, like, wouldn't it be great if? Because if I could have all the different proofs that were required to be able to complete a mortgage application in one click, then that would be absolutely amazing. So if you're working on that, we would love to hear more. But I think in general, Andy, I mean, what we how we I mean, this is kind of one I want to turn over to you. We've got a few different ways that we work to connect our customers and people in our community together. When they let us know that they're open to working with others in the field. And I think it'd be good if you could comment a little bit on how we've done that in the past, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. So really good example in Ireland, actually, where one organisation there was really keen on the whole, and still is very keen on the whole SSI concept, and could see how it could expand. And what happened there was they identified a number of other organisations they'd like to work with, and we helped them to create that ecosystem and involve those other organisations. And we were brought in as subject matter experts to help bring the message of SSI to them, if you like, and help them construct that issuing, verifying capability across multiple organizations. So probably the easiest thing, Bill, is ping me a note. If you send it into info@evernym.com, it'll get to me anyway. We do have other banks who are looking at mortgages, and particularly multiple silos, being able to have the same credential being used across multiple silos of business that can't otherwise talk to each other for regulatory legal purposes. Mark Haddle, this is a nice one. Can I use verifiable credentials to do away with passwords entirely? James, this is your little hobby horse, isn't it? You like this one.
Yes, of course you can. It's a brilliant use case, and we absolutely love it. Yes, you can absolutely use them to get rid of passwords, and the best thing is you can use them not just to get rid of passwords for one particular account, so to do like a passwordless login. You can also use it to do essentially passwordless single sign-on. So one credential that you've got can be used to sign into multiple different systems, perhaps even with multiple different organizations. As long as they are all willing to trust the issuer of that credential, you need no other technical integration, no central source of truth and things like that. So we absolutely love that use case. And both in Connect.me, you're able to do that using the full fat verifiable credentials flow that we talk about all the time, but also you're able to present a DID authentication over the OpenID Connect protocol. So if you've got a slightly modified version of that standard endpoint that can do OpenID Connect, then you can also do single sign-on using that. And that's something that we've had customers add on to staff passport use cases they've done, for example, where not only can I use a credential to show up and be onboarded for a job, I can then use it for single sign-on in the various systems I need to go and do my job. And we think that is a great example of the potential of credentials to really streamline these processes. So it's a big fat yes, and we'd love to see you go do it.
Yeah, it's actually, it should be much higher profile than it is. It's kind of an also thing. Oh yeah, you can also do this, but it also includes multi-factor authentication out of the box, right? Because you need the phone, you need your biometric to open the phone and to open the wallet, and then you need the DID, the peer DID that you've set up uniquely with that organization, and then you can have a credential that could be issued only to you, only by that organization. So you get multi-factor authentication just kind of automatically with passwordless and usernameless authentication, which is kind of astonishing. Richard, you want to say something? Yeah, go on, go on.
Yes, it's worth noting that when we built Verity Flow, we really wanted to do that. It was a big lift for the users that were onboarding on the Verity Flow, but it's definitely the future. That's where we see things going. We just got to bring everybody with us.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. More questions coming in. So let's just have a look at, let's have this one quickly. Jason Rasmussen has asked, does Verity Flow require the passengers in the airport use case to have an active internet connection? Are there any problems in practice with network connectivity? So Candice, one for you on that one. Active internet connection in the airport.
Actually, so maybe Richard, you can answer this one, but it's my understanding that it can be done off network. Is that true?
Sorry, I missed part of the question.
Yeah, does Verity Flow require an active internet connection? And the passenger.
So Verity Flow is a web application, and so it's hosted on our servers. You have to have a network connection, but the holder doesn't necessarily have to be online.
Yeah, in the current flows, so connect.me at the moment defaults to assuming that you've got a connection, and so all the DIDCOM messages associated with providing these proofs, they go over the internet rather than in person. But we do have an early version. It's not available in the public version of the app, but those of you who are on the test flight builds and the beta program for connect.me may have noticed this actually. We've got an experimental feature in there that allows you to present a credential for offline verification. It's not fully baked. It only works with really small credentials and things like that. So it's not going to be in the public release that's upcoming. But it's something that we're absolutely working on because just like you, we recognize the need for that use case. So so the short answer is not today, but definitely stay tuned because we're well aware of the need to do that.
Thanks, James. I just having a look. We're coming up to 10 past. Still got 40 folks on, so there's clearly an appetite for listening to you guys. While you're on that subject, James, there's another question coming from Doug Hall. Hi, Doug. What's the scalability of Verity? Where there's a very large number of users that could be involved. And I think that's, it's probably Verity and Verity Flow, isn't it? Because the travel industry is global with thousands of labs and hundreds of airlines and millions of passengers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah. So I'll comment on Verity, and Candice can keep me honest on Verity Flow. But yeah, so look, our whole promise to the market essentially is don't worry about the complexity of operationalizing verifiable credentials. We're going to take that pain away from you. And so what that means in this context is that we've built Verity to be reliable, even at considerable scale and under stress. So it's intended for mission critical applications. So in practical terms, Verity is architected in such a way that it is arbitrarily scalable. Today, based on current customer needs, it comfortably supports many tens of transactions per second, where a transaction means an entire protocol that itself may be composed of many messages. So it comfortably meets the sorts of transaction volumes that we have going on in production today. But scaling that up to many multiples of that is simply a question of adding more nodes to the cluster. And so that's something that we do whenever customer need dictates it.
Yeah, and on Verity Flow, we have hundreds of users at this point. So
that's actually labs, isn't it? Hundreds of lab.
Correct. Yeah, hundreds of labs.
Yeah, because there's thousands of lab accounts on there, and at any given time we have hundreds of concurrent users. Is based on the current adoption, I think is what you mean.
Yeah, which in the SSI world, it's still early days, isn't it? It is properly large scale from an SSI perspective. Probably the biggest deployment I know of. Okay, I think we'll just do one more just to finish off. And some of you that have asked questions that we haven't been able to get to, really sorry about that. It always happens. We never have quite enough room. And we're not ignoring you on purpose. We're just cracking through these as quickly as we can. There's just one more, Matthew Haleston again. The Connect Me app previously had the on-FIDO option for government issued ID. Well spotted there, Matthew. You must be a long time follower of us. So previously had on-FIDO for importing credentials with government issued IDs verified. Will the app support both? James, one for you.
Yeah, so that on-FIDO demo, that was limited to the UK and was limited to demo use only. So we built that as part of the project we did with on-FIDO and Deloitte in the UK's FCA regulatory sandbox, which was really cool. It was a complete industry first. We got to show that it was not only technically feasible and attractive to users, but it was compatible with regulations to apply for regulated financial products using a reusable identity credential. It was really, really earth-shaking. But as I said, it was mostly a technology demonstrator to achieve those points. The relationship we've got with MasterCard is different to that. It's global and it's intended for production use. Now, we know that not everyone will use Connect.me for that. We actually expect most people will want to integrate this alongside our mobile SDK. But the MasterCard feature is one that works not just in the UK and comes with a full commercial agreement that allows you to use it in production if you want to do so. So our customers are still free to bring the identity verification provider of their choice, as we mentioned earlier. So if they have a pre-existing relationship with someone, then we're happy to help them integrate that. But we've chosen to partner with MasterCard as the default that we include in our products because our visions for the future of this market are really closely aligned.
Cool, thanks. So somebody can build their own app with our mobile SDK embedded and also use the MasterCard feature as part of that as well. Very cool. So I think we'll leave it there. There's still some more questions coming. We just don't have time to cover them all. So if you didn't get in, really sorry about that. I think probably the best thing to do is book in for our next webinar and keep asking questions on that. So September the 2nd, we're going to be going into more detail on the travel and hospitality world and lots of questions about IATA. It is a marquee use case, which is fantastic. We'll have a whole webinar on travel and hospitality and what we're seeing there and the different solutions coming up and so on. So September the 2nd, go to evernym.com /travel webinar. And with that, just like to say thank you to Richard, Candice, James. Much appreciated coming on, explaining this to everybody. And thanks to everyone who attended as well, making this an excellent webinar. Thanks very much and see you on the next one. Cheerio.
Bye.
Thank you.